Senator Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The system is rigged in a lot of ways, and this committee is right to open an investigation into drug practices, and we're very lucky to have Chairwoman Collins and Senator McCaskill leading us on this. This is a no competition problem. Drug manufacturers that are the sole source of a medicine and patients who are desperate for these medicines create market failures and a recipe for disaster here. In fact, the Senate Finance Committee published the findings of their bipartisan investigation of Sovaldi, the $84,000 hepatitis C drug, and found that the manufacturer set the price solely to jack up profits with no regard for whether families would be able to afford it or whether patients would be denied a cure because they couldn't afford it. So it's time for government to step in on the side of the American people to stop this extortion. Dr. Anderson, I think we need to think broadly here. Rapidly increasing generic prices are the initial focus of this investigation, and they are obviously a very serious problem. But the majority of drug costs are not for generics. We've seen price spikes across the industry, but more of the cost is for brand name drugs. So what can Congress do? Let's focus first to make sure that patients are protected from high drug costs and high copays for both brands and generics.
So you mentioned the whole issue of Sovaldi, and that's for hepatitis C patients. There's about 3 million of them in the United States. Only about 300,000 people with hepatitis C are right now getting that drug because of the high cost. So it is it's a problem of access in the brand area, and it's a problem that we're talking about today in the generic area.
So we have a cure, and 90% of the people who have this disease can't get cured because they can't afford the drug.
Well, there's a public side and a private side. On the public side is Medicaid, the VA, DOD are having trouble paying for the drug because of the drug budgets is getting exceeded. In the Medicare program, it went from just taking care of this went from $300 million to $4.5 billion, essentially overnight.
All right. So you were just going to give us a couple of ways in which we can make sure that patients stay protected here, things that we can look at.
Well, essentially, we've got a whole series of ways, and it's very different for generics and brands. So in the generic area, it's very important to have competition, and we have talked about that a lot. In the brand area, it's very important to take a look at the patents, when they're appropriate, when they're not appropriate, and essentially how long they should be. Because right now, the patent law was originally established during the George Washington administration, and was originally for 14 years, for 2 years, 2 indentured servants. And now it's 17 and 20 years, and it's not reflective of the investment that a drug company makes. Sometimes they invest a lot, sometimes they invest a little. We need to support the investments, and we might want to figure out how to do that differently.
Mr. Merritt, would you like to add to that, please?
Well, I think government has a real important role here. Obviously, it's a huge purchaser. And we think the role is more in ensuring competition, making sure that there is safe products on the market, that people are getting the products they think they're getting insurance that they think they're getting, and so forth. And on the purchasing side, I think the challenge that we see is that it's such a complicated, fast-moving market, just like what we did with Imprimis, this little pharmacy, compounding pharmacy. We found that kind of in real time and helped drop the price of the product significantly. And the challenge, I mean, if you look at price controls or price interventions, direct negotiation, there are kind of 2 ways to do it. One, you could kind of peg it to the market prices and then get a discount on it, which does save money for public programs, will increase costs elsewhere. Or you can just kind of try to make the price kind of drug by drug. And the danger there, ironically, is you could end up overpaying, as we saw in this Turing thing. I know it's a temporary solution, but if a drug's $5,000 a day, it might seem good to charge $2,500 tomorrow, or maybe even $100. But little did anybody know you could get the same drug basically for $1. Mm-hmm. And so I think we all want to find ways to reduce costs, and there are ways government can help.
No matter how the drug industry sugarcoats it, America pays the highest drug prices in the world. And it's not impossible to fix, and it doesn't have to be partisan. Just last month, Congress passed legislation that created a new Medicaid inflation rate for generic drugs, which will require drug companies to rebate money when their prices go up faster than the inflation rate. So we've got a lot that we could be doing here. I want to talk more about other countries. The chairwoman rightly is trying to hold us to our 5 minutes. So I'll just say thank you very much. You've laid out good steps, things we need to investigate. And again, thank you for starting this.
Thank you. Senator Casey.